Good morning. Welcome to the Science of Mind class here at CSLDallas. I'm Dr. Petra Weldis, and we are starting to have spring down here in Dallas, and it feels like spring is happening early in a lot of places. So I hope it's starting to happen wherever you are in the world, unless, of course, you're south of the equator. Then you're moving into fall. So happy to be together on this glorious day. Ryan is teasing me because I read what we're going to read today, and I say, oh, this is my favorite part. And he says, you say that every week. It's true. I do. I say it every week. And it's so interesting because, every once in a while somebody says to me, well, all your Ernest Holmes, and it feels like, or we are in the box of Ernest Holmes, or, and I think, well, that's really not true because we do all kinds of other things. But there's something about Ernest Holmes's writings that I find very compelling. We're reading, if you are close or inspired by the teachings of Jesus, we're reading Words That Heal Today by Ernest Holmes in our New Testament class, and having, revisiting it again. I probably haven't read it in a couple years. Man, it is gorgeous. And, I think about this person who wrote all this stuff, and he had the mind of a scholar and a philosopher, the heart of a poet, and the soul of a mystic. And there are ways in which it comes together that are really extraordinary. However, we have to remember that he was writing, almost 100 years ago now. Between 100 and 50 years ago, because he wrote this book originally in 1926, and he stopped writing in 1958 or 59, I think. And he passed away in 1960, excuse me. And so there are, of course, advancements. There's advancements in language. There's advancements in our understanding about neuroscience and quantum physics, and the way in which research is supporting things that the mystics have known for thousands and thousands of years. And so there's always an expansion. There's always new ways of it being written and talked about and worked with. And so we all have to find our way through. There's something for me very compelling about the breadth of this work that continually regrounds me in what it is that I understand about the nature of reality and about who and what we really are and how all this really works. And so we use the material not because we think Ernest Holmes is the guru. Actually, there's two significant flaws, I believe, that he has in his theology or his philosophy, and made a huge mistake in one of the charts. And good enough, we get to do that. We get to disagree. We get to say, wait, I'm not sure. But the other side of that coin is always operating under the assumption that there could actually quite possibly be something here of value, especially if we find ourselves in resistance to it. Right, that's always a good clue when we find ourselves in resistance to it. So, of that preamble, because of what we're talking about today, we're talking about choosing thought. This is the bottom of page 143, choosing thought. And this first two sentences, we cannot live a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second is a choice. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. And so it's really, it's how often somebody who is on a spiritual path will say to me, well, I'm not going to choose. I'm going to let Spirit choose for me. Or I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to just go with the flow and see what happens. Well, what we don't recognize is those in and of themselves are also choices, right? They're choices in how we are deciding how we're going to move in the world. And then we get a lot of interesting, what shall we say, very real, heartfelt confusion or discomfort around what to choose, how to choose, right? We're stuck in the idea that there's a right choice and that if we make the wrong choice, something terrible is going to happen. We can realize that, well, we can be raised with the idea it's way more spiritual to be poor, because that's, of course, what the monks and the nuns and both in the East and the West did, right? And even in the teachings of Jesus, there is the appearance that wealth or a material good is a problem. And of course, we can marry it with American consumerism and the ad-driven economic engine of capitalism, which causes us to use our spiritual tools to acquire, get. We do all that because we are good manifestors, and then we're still left with, wait, but my life isn't really any more meaningful. I keep having to look for the next thing that I want to get. And so we can become confused about all of this idea about choice. And then, of course, we also are confused with the idea, we think that when we say I'm living a life of choice, we forget that some of our choices are actually made unconsciously, because we are not consciously choosing something. And when we're not consciously choosing something, we are by definition allowing our unconscious to choose, or our subconscious, or as Ernest Holmes says, our subjective mind. What's doing the choosing are the thoughts and patterns that are in our subjective mind. And they're an unconscious choice filtering through which we perceive life, through which we respond to life. And unless we make a different choice, they're just going to run. Those patterns are simply going to run our lives. And without a new choice, right? Remember we talked about that a couple weeks ago. New thought there's nothing new in new thought. It's about having a new thought, which is another way of saying making a new choice, right? It is the choice. It is then the intentional work, the conscious work, the choice that we make deliberately to be in alignment with our spiritual truths, our spiritual principles, the way we see life, the way that we look at life, right? That actually begins to move us out of these unconscious choices that are perpetuating themselves in our lives into a different way of expressing and then experiencing our life. So choice, and then the last thing we would say here is we cannot live a choiceless life. We're always making a choice. Okay, this part of this statement is a recognition that this is the understanding of reality. Just even the fact of what we choose to focus on. So many years ago, walking with a friend, we were walking around a space. We'd been in a conference for, days on end. When you feel like all you see is the inside of the hotel. And we decided to walk around the grounds. And I was like, oh, God, I'm so glad to be outside. And I was smelling the air and looking at the grass and whatever, gardens or lack thereof there was, but there were trees. And I noticed that the person I was walking with, the very first thing they said was, oh, God, look at that. I mean, couldn't they have done a better job with this gardening thing? They should have really fixed those flowers. Oh, my gosh. It's just chilly. It's just too much wind. I think we should go back in. That was the first 3 minutes.
Whoa.
Right? That in and of itself is a choice. What am I focusing on? Am I walking around, smelling the air, grateful to be outside, happy to be moving my body, enjoying what little nature there happens to be? Or am I just choosing, right? And this is an unconscious choice. We have a pattern of looking for the thing that's not working or picking out the negative or whatever it is, however we want to describe that pattern. And without a different choice, that's how we are showing up. I grew up equally as critical a household as, or more so than anybody else, right? I am the queen finding the things to be critical of. And I've spent a lifetime choosing something different.
Yes.
Right? But it's a deliberate, intentional choice. That's what it means, that we cannot live a choiceless life. And without doing the deliberate, intentional choice to see it differently, think about it differently, speak about it differently, expect something different, then we are choosing to allow the way in which we normally have seen things in the past to continue to unfold. And whether that's how we see things, what we expect, how we talk about it, how we understand the nature of reality, what we believe about God, all of those are things that we are constantly choosing. We're just choosing them intentionally and deliberately, or we're unconsciously choosing them over and over and over again, allowing whatever has been impressed upon us to play out. Right? And it doesn't mean woundedness necessarily, doesn't mean we're triggered by anything. It's just the choice that we are making as to how we are perceiving and engaging in the world. We cannot live a choiceless life every moment of every day. And I will tell you, including what's going on in our head, including all self-talk and all of that stuff, right? And I've heard people talk about it, and I've certainly experienced it myself. It is a lot of freaking work. Ooh, man. It can be tiring. It can be exhausting to, as Mary Baker Eddy says, stand at guard at the portal of your mind and decide what's going to come in and come out. Right? I mean, that's the fundamental discipline, the probably bottom line discipline that we have in the science of mind, the discipline of our choices and paying attention to that. So that's the bad news, right? The good news is we have the right to choose what we wish to experience. I want to underscore the right to choose what we wish to experience. We are not waiting for Spirit to choose for us. Spirit chooses for nature. Nature is the generic expression of life and Spirit unfolding itself into creation. The seed does not get to choose where it's planted. The tree does not get to choose where it's growing. It cannot move out of the way of the lightning strike. It can't choose to seek shelter, right? So there is this a way in which life is forever just unfolding. But in individuated self-consciousness, what is awakened is our ability and therefore right to choose. And it's challenging or sometimes disheartening to discover how many of us don't want to exercise that right. Well, I'm going to see what Spirit has in mind. And Spirit's like, hello. Actually, Spirit's just doing its thing. The law is like waiting for direction. Or you're just going to get same old, same old. Because what other direction does it have? Right? We have the right to choose. And there is a false humility, a false sense of who and what we are that causes us not to exercise this right. All the ways in which we've been raised, some of the traditional religions we've been raised in, women in particular, not having the right to choose and not knowing how to exercise the right to choose. And so sometimes when we do this work and we start talking about, demonstrating things, manifesting things, have you had TSRWs? Sometimes it's to show us that we have the right to choose. Well, and if we have the right to choose, then we have the right to choose again. Right? So if we make a choice that somehow feels wrong to us, like we thought it was a good idea to take that job or to move into that place or to get into that relationship or to leave that relationship, that job, that place, right? We thought it was a good idea. And then if it's like, wait, this doesn't feel right. This feels out of alignment. Something, I thought this was going to, take care of whatever, and it's not. Okay. Choose again. Choose again. Choose again. We're only then punished by it if we don't choose again. And then we resign ourselves to it, or we say, oh, Spirit must have wanted us to have this. Spirit just, life just wants you to be whole, happy, healthy, complete, joyous, and free. Expressing yourself, however that is. And today you want to be an artist, and tomorrow you want to be an accountant, and the day after that there is no scorecard. The thing that the biggest choice is to express ourselves, our individuality, because otherwise we would be a flower or a tree or a blade of grass or a lion or a tiger, and all of creation up until self-awareness only has the choice to express within the confines of the biology and the instincts and what has been learned, right? And we know that there's a definite continuum of the growth of self-awareness. We have lots and lots of our animal kins that are showing that growth in self-awareness. But we're, of course, particularly interested in how it shows up in ourselves. And so this ability to choose is fundamental to our nature. The question always is, and the right to choose is our birthright. The question is only, are we doing it? Are we doing it? Are we paying attention to it? Are we utilizing this powerful gift? So I'd love to stop and talk about this idea of choice, the power of choosing, that we have this right. And how is it for you to express this right to make choices? And when and how do you feel and know that the choice to allow Spirit to move as you in the world is equally as compelling? And then we might also explore what stands in the way and what can we do about it. So these are my questions for us to ponder today. We're going to say good morning to Ryan and to Richard and to everybody in the room. JL, there's more seats up here in the front too if you don't want to be way back there. But you're welcome to be way, that's more comfortable. And so we're just going to see what's going on out there in virtual land as well.
Well, good morning to you, Dr. Petra, and good morning to everybody here in the room. And I have an answer to what's blocking you and everybody else online. It's raising your hand and participating in our conversation.
Make a choice.
Make a choice. Participate. We want to hear from you. And so for the folks here in the room, if you want to just raise your hand, we've got Ross over here who's got a hold of the microphone, so he'll help pass it around to anyone with a question. And for the folks online via Zoom, we'd love to hear from you as well. Make sure to hit that raise your hand icon located down below under the More or the Reactions tab. And hola, buenos dias to all of our friends all across the globe who are watching us on Facebook Live. Spanish is the only one I know, so don't ask me to do more. We've already attempted that for our Filipino friends, and I shall not attempt that any further. But good evening to everybody on the other side of the globe, and we want to hear from you as well. Make sure to chime in. Tell us where you're watching us from, and put your questions into the chat, and I can bring those into the room as well. And I always like to mention that I keep those anonymous. That way we can continue to have a safe container for spiritual growth. So with that being said, just polling here in the room,
There and then
Ross
there.
has the microphone.
And there.
So we'll start off with you, Ross, and then we'll work our way around the room, and then we'll see what we have online. Go ahead.
Well, I have the same father and mother you did.
Yes. Surprising number of us in this room had the same father and mother, right?
Masterful at finding everything that was wrong and putting it in my face, especially what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so as a young man, I could agree with them. And over time, I developed a system that went, how does it feel to be that way? And I didn't like it, but I didn't know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. Somehow, over the time, I got this system of what do I want more of it and what do I want less of, because my job is to adjust how I internally feel.
Right.
Because that's the quality of my life. And persistence won the day. So
love that.
everything is gauged in terms of now it's a pretty automatic process. Of,
Right.
do I like it or not like it?
Yeah.
Do I want more of it or less of it? And and so that's the choice.
Yes.
When I get the information, I know what to do.
I love that. Beautiful. That's great. Thank you, Ross. Okay, back here.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Brian, and what I really enjoyed is what you said, we have the right to choose again, and to choose again. And Dr. Holmes talks about spontaneity, and yes, we get to choose and choose again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank goodness, right? Or we'd be stuck. Okay, and we have one here in the front row or the second row, and then we'll go back to the back. Carmen, we had a hand up here in this row here, and then, yep. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Autumn. This particular part of the book it's for me. It is for me, and I told you earlier I've been reading Existential Kink, and the quote from Jung: "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate."
Yes.
That slapped me in the face the first time I read it this week. And now this We Cannot Live a Choiceless Life. And the reason is because I was raised to have no choices about anything. It was the religion, it was the culture, it was the misogyny. I was told I was powerless. I could not make a choice, and I could not make a choice. And I spent years being unable to make the simplest choices. And now I'm finding, when I'm practicing making some choices, I'm finding that it is my personal power. And that's why I was powerless. I couldn't make a choice.
Yes. It's so important, Autumn, what you're saying. So, so important. And we are so enculturated and habituated to that, right? And so when we first start, our choice maker may be uncalibrated, right? And we make a few choices that maybe are not made, maybe they're made in reaction, or they're made in rebellion, or they're made, I'm going to show you, or they're made, I can do anything I want because I'm choosing. And then we're like, oops. Right? And we think, oh, well, this means I'm not doing it right, or I'm not, I should just wait and see, they were right, is basically what happens. And then we stop choosing. And so we have to also normalize that, because that we're learning how to make choices. We're learning how to choose again when our choice doesn't actually come out the way, or bring about the thing we thought we wanted, right? And over time, that all gets educated. It all becomes more effortless. And with the diligence, I loved what you said, Ross, at some point it does actually become automatic. A new way of choosing becomes more automatic. So I'm sure you spoke for a lot of people, Autumn, just now. And I think especially for women, I was, a lot of ways, there simply was no choice. We did what my father wanted, period, end of sentence. That was There was no discussion about anything, right? And we were to be the way that way, and we were supposed to act that way, and all of that. And so we internalize that as being choiceless. So just massive support, right? Massive support. And it is that idea that we then call it fate, or we think, well, somehow Spirit is choosing that for us. That's what we do in metaphysics. We move away. We think what Spirit wanted for us. Or there must be a lesson I'm learning. Spirit brought this to me, and there's a lesson I'm learning. Well, no, actually, you brought it to yourself, and the lesson you're learning is wake up. Well, actually, I would say wake the blankety blank up, but and take your power back, right? This is why we have a solar plexus, a personal power, right? We do actually have that. That's what makes us not robots, not just on automatic. We do actually have this aspect of ourselves that is our own personal likes and dislikes and the things we want to do and the way in which we're constructed that says, I want to be an artist, or I want to be an accountant, or I want to climb Mount Everest, or I want to become a scuba diver, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I think we have yeah. Oh, okay.
We'll go here to JL, and then we'll take one from the online audience.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good morning.
Okay, Petra, I feel like I know what you're going to say before. But I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay, are you hoping for something different?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we all go through phases in life, right? And I had the privilege, if you guys haven't joined a spiritual mind treatment class where we're breaking down the spiritual mind treatment this week, it's been very enjoyable. So, but I'm at a phase in life where I am seeking direction. And I don't know what to choose. I don't know what to choose. Like, you ever been in a phase where you just don't know
Sure.
what to choose?
Sure. Every time I stand in front of the gelato thing and I want that and that, I like that, and
But great, that's in front of you, right? It's a little easier when you got this whole row of things, right, that you can choose from. But I guess we do have a whole row of things in other ways. But anyway, I don't know what to choose. I don't know what the direction is. I don't know where to start. And so I'm trying to find a prayer. So
okay, so let me ask you, what do you think I'm going to say?
just choose something.
Could be. Sometimes it is. Just get off the dime. And because there is something about inertia, right? An object in motion tends to stay in motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. And so sometimes just making a choice gets you in motion, and you start to make you start to show the law that you're serious, that you're moving towards something, right? And you're not waiting. So there is some truth to that. But the thing that I'm really going to say is when we think we don't know what to choose, usually what it is that we do know, we just don't want to admit it. And we don't want to own it. And we don't want to...
I don't know, Major. I think... So here's my question, though. Can I pray to Spirit for direction?
You're not praying to Spirit.
Okay. So can I seek direction? How do I...
Yes, you speak your word. You speak your word that you know. Stop saying, I don't know. Right? You're affirming over and over and over. You're giving to the law the direction. I don't know. I don't know what to choose. Which you might want to explore. Does that mean I'm afraid to choose? Do I really not know? But every time we say that, the law is going, you're right, you don't know. So I play all kinds of games with myself, and I would play them with you if we were sitting in a session. I would say, well, if you did know, what would it be?
I would say, I don't know.
And if you did know, what would it be? Your brain is designed to respond to that question. Your brain is designed to answer questions, right? Our biological growth and our not cerebral cortex, usually in the reptilian and limbic brain, the brain is designed to ask, is this a threat? Am I safe? What is it? What is it doing? What is it going? Do I need it? Is it going to be useful to me? Right? And it is designed to answer questions, those questions, right? So you can, rather than affirming, you can actually ask your brain, what, how, these are the things, right? And so right now there is something that's standing in the way, insisting that you don't know, which is nonsense, which is infinitely nonsensical, because there is an infinite intelligence that is you, and it knows absolutely everything. And it is already you. And so the guidance you're seeking is simply the knowledge that is already within you. And it is opening to that intelligence. Spirit as me knows. It's the other thing that I say. Sometimes when I'm having to give a talk, or I'm having to work with someone, or I'm having to try to figure out, what should we do? There's a pandemic. Oh my God, I have no idea. I don't know how to keep CSLDallas open. I don't know how to do that. I have no idea. Wait, there is that within me that knows. Spirit knows. As me. Not knows because it has a plan for me, but as me. There is that within me that is the intelligence of the universe, and it knows. And that's the treatment, that's the affirmation, and if I knew what it was, what would it be? And then you listen, and you hear, and you feel the nudge, and then you do. At some point, you have to move, right? You have to then allow the ball to start rolling, and then you start feeling into, oh, okay, this is good, this is working, and sometimes the ball gets rolling and it's like painful because it's change, or it's not the status quo. And so we can't always use our comfort as the guide. Sometimes the best guide is what we're afraid of. It is the just go right into the heart of the fear. Step toward it instead of away from it. Right? Because there's something there potentially. So there's lots of ways to maneuver this. And this is, of course, what our spiritual coaches are for. They can help you get into series of sessions with a spiritual coach, and then just start working it, right? And over time, you'll work through all these different ways of engaging it, and it'll start popping loose. It really will. And expect that. Right? Expect that expect it to pop loose, expect that it will become clear to you, and keep doing that in your spiritual mind treatment, because that was your first question. What do I do spiritual mind treatment about? Do spiritual mind treatment that there is that within you that does know. It is absolutely coming clear to you. You are available to that information from your particular way of spirit showing up as you, and it is obvious. And what I often the caveat I put on that is, could I please not have a universal 2x4? I'd like to get it before the universal 2x4 hits. All right, we're going to come out here.
Yeah, and as I'm reading this question, I saw Sean's hand shot up. So.
Okay, and we have one up here in front.
So yeah, we're going to come back into the room after this. So the question asks, any tips for controlling negative thoughts that sometimes overwhelms the mind?
Yes. Stop it.
and just drop the mic after that. That's as easy it is. Just stop it.
It's the discipline, you guys. And it is freaking hard. So what? It only overwhelms your mind because you allow it. You must wrench your mind away from it. Usually this is when I get out a good animated movie or an excellent book whose characters I enjoy. I simply refuse to allow that which I don't want to think about to have dominion over my mind. It only has dominion over my mind because I am allowing it. And it's a discipline. And you do it over and over and over again. That's why we teach look for the good and praise it. So we're inundated with negative thoughts. Great, but right now, oh man, the sun is shining. I like that. We're overcome with negative thoughts. Well, I had a nice meal last night. We're overcome with negative thoughts. You know, this stuff I can really understand that spirit is the truth within me, and I just don't care about these negative thoughts. I'm going to think about that love and joy are the truth of my being. Well, I'm overcome with negative thoughts. And you know, all those things that are going on around me, that's just humanity doing its thing. And I know that there's an infinite intelligence, right? Over and over and over again. And you're building new grooves in thought. And it is simply I think, Ross, you said this the other day, right? It's simple. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean it doesn't require sustained effort. Sustained effort. And then don't talk to people who are going to support you in your negative thinking. Right? So I hope those tips will help you. But I highly recommend Bob Newhart's YouTube video, Stop It. Okay, watch it every day. It's great. All right. I think we have some, oh no, right here.
My name is Carmen, and I'm actually enjoying sitting here. I'm actually enjoying sitting here, so I'm not all running around. But I'm glad I did sit in here because the last 2 weeks I've been dealing with making choices, different choices. And, you know, my personal life and my workplace and staff meetings, and, you know, just all over, just making choices. And I've been sitting with those questions like why I don't make certain choices. And today when you were reading, Petra, I was listening, and what came to my mind, trying to self-reflect, and how, you know, I was so criticized and judged. And only praise I got was, oh, you're pretty. Oh, you know, your legs are nice. You know, and, or, you know, it's just all compliments about my outer appearance. And so that's what I grew up to like, was important to me, is how I look, how I, you know, but I wouldn't tell nobody anything like personal to me. I couldn't be vulnerable because when I always was criticized or judged. And recently I have a good friend that I heard her speak my truth. And I was like, why I can't do that? Why I'm afraid? And I realized I was afraid of judgment.
Right.
And even when I make choices. And so today when you talk about, you know, when you're talking about self-expression, it's hard sometimes because you're judging yourself at the same time.
Right.
And it can be hard, Petra, at times to do that, to have that self-expression.
Of course it can.
And so you keep on re-experiencing, recreating the same experience because you're afraid, and you're judging yourself to want different, or even speaking because it doesn't feel right.
Right. And that's the problem right there, because it doesn't feel right, because we allow our feelings to be our guide, and we think that because it doesn't feel right, we should back off. And this is where we have to take responsibility to walk through the fear. Just you got it right. You got to aim into the center of that fear and say, no, you are not the truth about me. I don't care that it's hard or that I'm afraid. So I have all kinds of conversations and have to do all kinds of things. And my heart is racing and my palms are sweating. So what? So what? Because you're a radiant, magnificent being of love and light, and that fear is not the truth. And that criticism is not the truth. Do you see? We have to keep remembering who and what we are, and look at that fear and look at those feelings and say, you are not the truth. I'm not going to let you run me. So I'll tell you what I learned when I was 19 years old. I had gotten out of commercial real estate, and I'd gotten into residential real estate, and I had helped a friend of mine open her own business, and And I was, at 19, I was the sales manager. Cracked me up. Oh my God, because I was making money hand over fist, right? And other people were not, because of course I was using these principles. But one of the things you had to do is you had to farm. You had to have a farm, right? And a farm in real estate is you have a number of blocks, and you have to go and you knock on the door. I am your real estate agent. Should you want to sell your house, right? I'm your real estate agent. Should you want to sell your house? And you're supposed to do this every quarter or so, right? Okay. But first of all, I'm an introvert, so I'd rather crawl under a rock. And I have a deathly fear of big dogs because I have had 2 really, really, really unpleasant experiences with people in the house being mauled by big dogs, that I am deathly afraid of them. And so I would go to my farm and I would sit there. 3 hours. That's about what it would have taken. And I would throw all of my brochures in the trash can, and I would go back to my boss and say, got it done again. I was terrified. Terrified. I cannot tell you how much work I've done not to be terrified of big dogs. I'm still not into dogs, but having to deal with that. And after finally, I don't know, months of this going by, and this is what she said to me, and I have done this my whole life. She said, you're not the only one who's terrified. Nobody likes doing this. Nobody likes cold calling. Nobody likes doing any of these things. She said, so here's what you have to do. You have to take your fear and set it beside you. Put your arm around your fear and say, you and me, we're going in together.
Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Not pretending you're not afraid. Not suppressing your fear, but recognizing it's not you. I am going to put my arm around my fear. You and me, we're going in together. That, I have lived with that since then, anytime I'm afraid, right? Because our fear is not the truth. The way we've been criticized is not the truth. It's not the truth of us. It's only true, it only continues to be true because there is a part of us that has learned to believe it. And so we set it aside. That is the human condition. That is a false belief. That is an expression that I received as a child, but it isn't. Whatever you want to put here, right? We don't pretend it's not there. That's silly. But we recognize that we're not it. And we have to learn to take the hard work, the sustained effort of walking through it. And I will tell you, your fear is like a flag. Work here. Work here. Work here. Keep working here. And it doesn't mean keep obsessing and trying to process your fear. It means bring spirituality to bear. Bring the truth to bear. Right? And so you say to yourself, I'm a radiant, magnificent being of love and light, and I have truth to speak, and I am good at the things that I do. And if I'm not, I'm going to learn them. And so here I am. Here I am, world. Take me now. Take me as I am. Warts and all. Of course, I usually, have a lot of swear words inside those kinds of things when I say those things. Because I want emphasis. I want serious emphasis. I want to say it so that I believe it, right? And so, yeah, these are the things. These are the things. And on the other side, right? On the other side is freedom. And we can't get to freedom if we keep backing off of our choices. If we keep allowing the fear to keep us on this side, right? On the other side of walking through it, no matter how difficult it feels. And that's the thing, our feelings are lying to us. It's actually not as hard as you think. Because usually our parents are not in the room. right?
So persistence wins the day.
It does. It does. And we are not those children anymore. We're not. And so this is the work, right? This is the work. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to stop here and we're going to say a few things, I'm sure.
Yes, and I apologize, everybody. We are running out of time, so please feel free to stay after, ask your questions. Dr. Peach will be hanging out for a little bit before we head into our celebration. But we do have an amazing guest that's going to be coming up here, and his name is Dr. Patrick Harbula. And I think it kind of ties in really well with what you're talking about because he's all about shadow work.
Yes. Yeah, so Patrick's going to be speaking on April 6th, Sunday, April 6th. And we've had him here last year, and he was a blast. Oh, my gosh. And he had a huge workshop afterwards last time he was here. So he's coming back to talk about exploring the unconscious from a whole different way. So there's the talk, and then there's a workshop afterwards to kind of, get into it a little more deeply, to process it a little more. The workshop is on a love offering basis. And then if you really want to go for it, read the book that Autumn talked about, Existential Kink. He's not the author. He just fell in love with this book, and he's doing amazing work with it. And it is then an 8-week session to go even deeper, to bring our spirituality to bear onto our shadow work. And as long as you don't mind colorful language, it is great. She turns the shadow work on its head. It's quite funny, and it's really empowering and impactful. So Patrick will be here Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and he's actually going to do Monday, the first class. He's going to do hybrid, because he's going to be in town. He's going to stay through Monday night so that he can have the first class hybrid. So for those of you in the area can be in the room with them. And then the rest of the other 7 classes will be online only. He'll go back home to California and he'll be doing the classes online. So I cannot recommend it highly enough because Patrick is really great. He's a very vivacious and energetic and humorous speaker, but boy, does he got zing, 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 right? And then the work is really going to be great.
Yeah, and last thing that I wanted to bring up, the day before on April 5th, we're going to be closing out our season for Peace and Nonviolence with a really special meditation. Mm-hmm. It's going to be both here in person, and we'll be doing a live stream like we did last time with Dr. Petra, starting at noon on our Facebook page. So that's noon Central Standard Time.
Yeah, and both the in-person and online, it's an hour, right? It's not the whole day like it was before. It's just the hour, either in person or live streamed on Facebook.
Yes, absolutely. And that's April 5th. It's going to be from noon to 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah.
And we invite you to come and join us in consciousness, celebrating the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King and Gandhi.
Yeah, and raising consciousness both in our nation and on our planet for peace and nonviolence. It is the never-ending work of awakening humanity to the truth of our nature and our being. All right, and then of course we have a fabulous Easter program coming up on the 20th. And is there something else we should be? Oh, and the annual meeting. If yes, please come. We're going to be doing awards, annual awards, and we're going to be talking about CSLDallas 3.0. So that's the 23rd. After the celebration, it's a potluck. Bring your side dishes and your desserts. And the Core Council and CSLDallas are providing the protein. Everybody is welcome. Only, of course, members online as well as in person on the 23rd. Lots coming up, and I'm so glad that I keep hearing that the Step Out in Faith is so great. Thanks for saying that. I really love that for all of you who are in the home study groups. All right, so we'll see you at the celebration. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.